Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the ABSP Masters Series 2015 after a really extended break. For those of you that don't know, I am a university student. I've just done my final year exams, had dissertation and everything, so I finally got the time to record the next round of the event. So I am joined by the 2011 National Scrabble Champion, Wayne Kelly.
Hello, it is Wayne here.
So how does it feel to be one of the few people to be the national champion?
It was probably unexpected for me and for most people. I mean, I've certainly been in the top 20 of the country for a while, but I was never really one of the ones that was in contention to win. And that year, it was me and Gary Oliver that got through to the final, both first timers. So that was a bonus in some way, because it meant that I wasn't against someone who's done this all before and having the pressure of being annotated and knowing everyone's watching down in the hall downstairs. But the feeling to win was just amazing.
Yeah, and for those people that don't know, the National Scrabble Championship has kind of changed format in the last few years. It's no longer a best of 5 head-to-head to determine the winner. So if you do know about the previous format, it was basically 2 players in a quiet room and all you could really hear was the hum of a projector. It was really, really quiet.
It was.
And likely really stressful. But luckily, most tournaments are not like that.
No, I think once you get over that, the first game, I think both players made a few mistakes. I mean, I lost the first game, but I think once that was over, it was like, well, what's the worst that can happen now? And then to just get on with it.
Yeah, so without further ado, let's get on with the Quackle game then. So,
Yes.
Femi will start this game, and his opening rack is it's got a load of clunky consonants on it, but clunky consonants that go quite well together.
Yes, I mean, I know V's are a lot of people's worst enemy, but I don't mind a V. I think they're usually quite useful for bonuses, and they're quite useful for blocking your opponents. And I don't think there's going to be many bonuses from this rack, but I think he's certainly going to get a reasonable score. I think I would be looking to try and dump 2 of the big letters, and obviously not the blank. Obviously something I want to keep, and I think at this point its score is more important than the leave.
Yeah, especially with the blank contributing a lot to the balance of the rack.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ideally you're looking for 5-letter words to open any game.
Yes, to try and get the double.
To try and get either the V, the K, or the Y, in this case, on either of the doubles at like L8 or D8. So, of course, there are plays like Privy here, which easily gets rid of 3 of those clunky letters.
Yes, I don't really count a P as a clunky letter. I quite like P.
They're just high-scoring letters,
Yeah.
not so much. It's just together they can be quite clunky sometimes.
Yes, I mean, Y at least has a flexibility in this rack with counting as a vowel.
Oh yeah, I love Ys. They're just the best for scoring. But there's not many plays that use up a few of the clunky letters. Yerk is probably the only other play really, unless you want Ivy. But Privy is easily the best. And
yeah, Ivy gives floaters for Stivey. He doesn't score as much. Sorry, Tivy, and then to Stivey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Privy stands out.
Mm-hmm.
Optimal move here.
Yep. Wayne's rack has quite a bit of balance on it. There's just no E, and sometimes when you're looking at a rack without an E, it looks pretty bad sometimes, because E's are the most common letter in the alphabet.
Yes, I do like having an E on my rack, I have to say. but it's the double I that's a little annoying, especially when the only other vowel on the board is an I. So really, what I should have been looking at is to try and get rid of one of those I's, so that I've not got two.
Yeah, because when you keep duplicates, you really open yourself out to picking another one to make 3 of them, and the more of the same letter you have that isn't a blank, the worse it gets. And you really limit yourself scoring-wise when you keep the same letter on your rack. It's just never the best. So there are really 2 plays here that you're looking at. It's Roji at 9E, and then join through the Eye of Privy.
Yes, I think why I didn't go for Roji in this game was probably because I thought it was a little too open, and it was opening out the triple A8, but then that went against my advice that I've just given, which was to try and get rid of an extra I. So I think I was trying to balance the board with my rack, and I don't know if I really made the right choice.
Yeah, sometimes it's really hard to choose between whether you need to blow the board open for the sake of balancing your rack, or whether you need to maybe sacrifice your rack slightly to keep the board slightly tighter. Now, of course, Roji does give a lot back, only if your opponent has the right tiles. Sometimes you have to really blow the board open like this. Yeah, so Roji opens itself out to a massive high-scoring comeback play along row 10 and along row 8. But of course, if your opponent has the high-scoring consonants,
yes,
that's the only way they can really come back at it, and it's easy, like an easy 70 points if they have the right letters. But of course, if they've got 1 and 2 point tiles, probably the most you're going to give back is about 30 points, unless they bonus. But it might not be as bad. Sometimes you kind of have to cross your fingers and hope that they don't have the letters.
Yes, especially at this stage of the game. As it gets further on, where there's less choice, if the bigger letters are still outstanding, that's when you try and keep it slightly closed. But in the end, I went for join, which remains to be seen whether that was a good idea or not.
Femi's next rack, he's gotten some ease, which has made some more balance on his rack, and he's looking a lot closer to a bonus now.
Yes.
I mean, first thing you want to do when you look at this board is look for some kind of hot spot.
Yes. First look at whether there's a bonus on your rack, and will that go on the board, or is there something I can play around on the board? I think 8s are so important really for the game, because a lot of people try and make a bonus on the rack and then don't find where it's going to go on the board. So learning the 8s is a definite benefit, because a lot of people do concentrate on 7s.
Yep, I know. For me personally, my 8's terrible. But also I found a lot of times people go looking for bonuses on their racks, and they become so engrossed with the one bonus on their rack that doesn't potentially play, that they miss a lovely 40-point play somewhere else on the board because they want to keep the bonus synergy on their rack.
Yes, sometimes you do have to break your rack up, because it's not just how many points you get in that one move, it's how many points you get across the whole game. So you just need to keep scoring sometimes, rather than keep fishing for nice plays using all your letters.
Mm-hmm. So of course with this board it's actually really, really tight. There's no obvious hot spots, unless you can make, say, a 5-letter word or more to the Y of Privy. It's really just not that pleasant to look at. But Femi is sitting here with the T to hook on the end of join.
Yes, that's definitely a thought. Just like to say though, if I had played Roji, he would have had a nice score with Kithe onto the triple. Kithe. So
Yeah. This
in
is the
one way,
spam.
I feel yes. In one way, I feel like a little bit vindicated with my choice, but not necessarily just what would have happened. It's what's the best move for the game, regardless of what was going to happen for the next move. I
Yeah, and
think
you can't keep thinking what ifs in Scrabble,
no,
because one move, especially so early on in the game, can change the whole flow of the game. It can change how it ends, essentially.
yes,
So, despite all of that, as long as you play something really making joint, then you're probably really good to go here. Think is the
yes.
highest scoring. It gets rid of both the K and the H. I blank. It's a really good leave. You're not really so worried
Yeah, because
about the O column hook either.
no, and really, I mean, if you could have used the Y or something there, that would have been good. But I don't think there's anything really even
Yeah,
matching
nothing that reaches.
without using the blank. Which is,
Yeah, which there's no way you're going to use the blank like
no.
that. So with Theek being the play, let's move on to your next rack, which looks pretty horrible.
Yes. Now this is where you could argue that I did make the wrong choice because keeping the two eyes, I picked up one more. I think the IF hook that the IF leave kept. I was hoping for something if I down to the Y on the next move. I still would have had that with Roji, of course, but this is now looking a little grim.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to remember that there are some scenarios when keeping duplicates and triplicates actually does work out, but you're relying so heavily on luck at that point that it's never really worth it.
No. So, based on my mistake from the last move, I should say, I was probably thinking, right, I need to get rid of some of these eyes. So I think that is what I attempted to do. But I think whether scoring this time would have been better rather than dumping. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, so there are plays like Afro. Afro is the highest scoring play available here, and that does score 37 points. But you are leaving the three eyes, and you're going to have to deal with the eyes at some point, either by changing or by playing them off over a period of like 2 or 3 turns.
And eyes are not very easy to play in duplicate. Certainly not in short words.
So when you rely on playing off the tiles, you sacrifice score in the process to balance your rack. So sometimes it can end up kind of backfiring and you end up further behind than you anticipated, even though you went for a higher scoring move here in this particular case.
I mean, Afro would keep the board quite tight and it would restrict any plays down onto Theek, only to end with S or double S. So,
and it does rely on Femi having an F, a T or an S to make the most use of the board and score.
Yes.
An interesting, this is Speedy Player that I'm analysing the game with. It's Speedy Player number 2 choice is Herif.
Well, I can honestly say I did know that word, but it's certainly a memorable one once you've seen it.
And there are other. So the third choice is probably the more obvious play. In a way, it gets rid of your duplicates, triplicates in this case, and it gets rid of the O, which is often the next stage of tile you're looking to get rid of as well.
Yeah, there's obviously not very many vowels visible at this point on the board as well. So, although I've got a lot on my rack, I do need to leave some to play through as well, just in case. So that was, I think, my reasoning for high oi.
Mm-hmm. I mean, high oi has a much better leave than Afro, so And I think a lot of players would choose Iowa here.
Oh,
So, I probably would have.
I was
But that's not saying much.
really down. The only thing really down to make Joe was something like IO, which is then still keeping 2 I's. So
Femi's rack is actually really great here.
Yes.
You know, it's nice and balanced. You know, there are quite a lot of 7s. The board doesn't really go well with 7s unless you've got an S.
Yes, it would be only really at face value, and the only 2 main floaters are the I and the O, which he doesn't really want to be using because they're already on his rack.
Mm.
So obviously the 2 hotspots are from H8 down, or something holding on to Theek.
Mm-hmm. So what we're probably going to have to point out is this point, is that now in CSW 15, Goatees is valid.
Yes.
And this was played to CSW 12. This was before the dictionary was updated. And of course, Goatees would be the best play by quite a bit, or at least by a little bit anyway.
Yes,
but
not in 2015 in July.
Well, not at this point in 2015 anyway.
Yeah.
So we're looking for the right floater to play a bonus around. There are bonuses. Because the rack is slightly more tilted towards vowels, we are looking at consonant floaters. So the P and the K. The J no. Let's just forget about the J. You'd have to be quite lucky to play an 8 around a J.
Yes, actually, I mean, the P is obviously going to score more anyway for this stage, because the J is just in the middle of a flat line, as it were, with no double or triple letter words.
Mm. So for those of you watching that are probably shouting bonuses at the screen right now that go from the P down to the triple, there are 3 of them.
Well, I was saying I know what Femi has played, but there's a very similar word to that as well, with a different letters, blank.
Different blank. Yeah. Pinotage and pilotage.
Yes. I think I could probably have done with a glass of pinotage during this game, I think. But
yeah, pinotage was a new one to CSW 12, if I remember.
Yes, it was certainly not been in that long.
Yeah, but Oxford had it for even longer.
I think the other word is a new one as well, so I don't think that would have been allowed at that point.
Well, I can't reach my cheat sheet from here, so
yes,
it's stuck to my notice board on the other end of the room. But anyway, the other word is pagodite, and for those of you that maybe don't know these kind of 8-letter words, you've also got goat-like and Gadisha.
That's an old countdown favourite.
Oh yeah. This might turn into a countdown game, who knows? So this is your next rack.
Yes.
It's almost similar in a way to the opening rack of the game, but it's got an E on it and no V.
Yes.
But it's got the same kind of clunky consonants.
But it's not. It doesn't look quite as bad as a few of my racks have been previously. It's got a balance to it, which is the 3 vowels, 4 consonants is sort of like the classic combination for a rack, really.
Mm-hmm. And of course, as with the opening rack, you're still looking to play 2 of the higher scoring consonants off.
Yes.
Assuming there isn't a bonus, which there isn't in this case.
Now, the only letter it would go with is a C, which would be for repacify. But there is no C on the board, so I'll need to find something better.
Oh yeah, definitely something better. So Immediately, you're drawn to the fact that the A of pilotage is next to some double letter squares, and we're sat here with 3 higher scoring consonants that actually go with the A on both sides. And because there's nowhere else really to play these high scoring consonants, because the L column, L12 down, it relies on us having like an O or a T or something, so it's not very easily accessible.
Yes, definitely got a problem for that bit, because there's nothing that goes after the I. So
apart from the F, but then you're not really getting anything on L12, which you want to get a consonant on. So ideally, really, any play here that plays 2 of the higher scoring consonants and uses this hotspot around pilotage, it's going to be the best. So plays like Fey or Fey could go with this Fey, but you don't want to get rid of your E here.
No.
Always try to keep your E's unless there's too many E's in the bag, in which case you can play your E's.
Yes, I mean, I would not really want to play Fey from G13 down, because I would find, as I'm behind, that would be more of a blocky move, and I need to obviously come back at this point, because I'm quite way behind. So, and a bonus to the E would generally be higher scoring than to the T, say.
Mm-hmm. And this Fey, even scoring 1 point less keeps the E open. So that's probably what you want to keep open at this point, because keeping the O and the L and the I open, they're nowhere near as useful as keeping the E and the G open in this case.
I mean, the O is a possibility to hook onto the Fey at the bottom, but they use very restricted of what words end in
T. OT or OTS or OTE or something.
Yes.
And even then, Fey, you could argue, gives back a really easy 30-point comeback from F14.
Yes. Or even worse if it's the Z.
Yeah, that Z, easy 70 points right there. Mm-hmm. I mean, the J is already gone, and you always have to consider what's already gone to how risky these kind of openings are. But that's an opening you wouldn't want to make. So this Fey it is.
Yes.
So Femi's next rack, our post bonus. It's pretty good for a post bonus rack.
Yes.
It's a lot better than the kind of post bonus racks I draw.
I don't do too badly usually, but this is certainly a balanced rack, and with a high scoring letter to get rid of, if there are no bonuses available, and still leaving decent tiles.
Mm-hmm.
So you're partly on your way to your next bonus, really, on this rack.
Yeah, and really the first thing you're looking to do is maximise the X.
Yes.
And there's no real lovely places on this board to do that. Nowhere that scores too decently anyway. Speedy player has the option of extra, but that really breaks up a lot of the balance of your rack.
I don't think I would want to be using that many letters at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, the ideal letters to get rid of with that rack were I would say maybe locks or just ox itself. But there are not. I also could argue that there are actually not many places for bonuses on this board, apart from to the E of pilotage, or down to make theeks, or possibly like an ing word to the G, or something down to the Y. But they're all 8s, apart from the theeks.
Yeah.
And Femi hasn't got an S rather. He has got the X. That's what we're trying to play.
So there are players like, say, Oxo at K12, or even Ox here at 7L. They get rid of both the O and the X. They keep the really synergic letters. You ideally want to keep the letters of retains and letters like L, D, potentially O, but not always. You know, those lower scoring consonants are the ones that are easier to play in bonuses.
Although most people do still have a problem with the letter L. I do find that that's not one of the favourites. But it's useful if you've got sort of like consonants with things like F's and B's that it can, and C's, because it can then form a two-letter consonant, like clap or broken, things like that. Is that a diphthong? I never was quite sure of these terms. I think it might be a diphthong.
Yeah, they're just too many words. But anyway, Femi goes for Exo here, so he gets a tiny bit more score by burning his E. He does potentially give something back down the L column, but that won't necessarily keep the board open enough. And the E is also a duplicate floater in this case, so you're not too worried about giving those away, because if your opponent is going to bonus with an E, they're going to have another E to bonus off anyway.
Yes, although it does leave you very consonant heavy on a board which is not exactly flowing with vowels. But maybe he thinks that's because they're going to pick more up.
Maybe he's got the feeling that he's going to get really lucky. I've only ever had one game like that where I felt like I could draw anything that I want. And I did draw a blank in that one game. But most of the time, never feel like I can get that lucky. But anyway.
But I mean, Exo's not a bad move. It gives an E floater out as well. So if he needs an E on the next go, then he's got one.
Yeah, and it would go really well with his rack leave as well, and he's guaranteed to have one E open. So as long as he drew favourably, he'd be in with a good shout, you'd think. But your rack just took a downturn, really.
Yes, I mean, I've got the vowels that are missing on the board, I think, at this point. But, I mean, it's not horrendous. They're synergic letters to play words with. They're not too disjointed. But two O's is... You obviously need to be getting rid of one of those. And definitely the U with this board.
Yeah, two O's and a U are kind of pretty gross looking. So of course one of the things you're going to look for with this rack on this board is hotspots, and where you can score, and then maybe looking at which letters you want to get rid of and what you want to play. So there's really two immediate hotspots that I can see anyway.
Yes, down to the double letter score at L4, and maybe picking up a few more points from the X or the X and the J, or the G13 spot.
Now, of course, we don't have an S here to maximise the Theek's hook.
No.
And, it's a really bad idea to try and block that at this point of the game, You'd just be sacrificing way too many points.
Yes, I'm behind. I don't want to block.
Yeah, and there's that. So if anyone's going to block it, it's going to be Femi. So So we're looking for words here that get rid of more vowels than consonants. And we're looking for something that fits in either one of these hotspots.
Now, I think I have missed the best play here, which would certainly... even though it's a very open move, that's what I need to be doing, and it's a very high scoring move, which I've obviously missed, and played something else. So yes, Pori down from L1.
L1, yeah.
That would be far superior to anything else. I can't remember, going back quite a while now, whether I had seen it and wasn't sure, or I'd just not seen it at all. Which is probably the case, because I think I did know the word. So I think I just probably missed actually the spot of going down to make the XI and Joe. I think that's probably what I would have missed, because it's tricky sometimes to see all the hooks and all the words that you can do that with, and that's where you've got to really study the board and not just play something off.
Board vision is always very important for these kind of plays, and yeah, missing them can really, like, especially as this move particularly had a 17-point swing. So with the oop play at G11 versus Puri at L1, that's 17 points.
Yeah, and the leave didn't really anyway counter that, because I still left myself with one too many vowel, really, or maybe even two too many.
Yeah, but also the hooks for Uri in this case are actually quite nice. There's quite a few of them, and Uri is quite a common vowel dumpy word as well. And if I remember, there are quite a few hooks that go in front, so yes. It's one to learn.
Yes, C and T, I can think of the top of my head.
I can't remember. I should remember, but I don't, but oh well. So you play oop here.
And Lowry as well, you can have Lourae.
So
yes, I played oop.
Yeah, I suppose one of the added bonuses of oop is that it gives another bonus line.
Yes, that was probably in my thinking, because obviously I've got the R to go down to make roof, but I still have 3 vowels on my rack to go with that R. And considering we've been talking that there's not been actually many vowels on the board so far, it could be a little dicey, because they could be waiting in the wings to jump on my rack.
Yeah, rare occurrence here. Quackle actually gets Femi's next rack correct. It's not often that not often that happens when you're starting Quackle from scratch. No. But good going, Quackle. You've guessed something right. So Femi's now looking at a rack that's got no E on it, but with 2 floating E's on the board.
Yes, so he has become a cropper in terms of, because he used 2 of his vowels, he'd only picked 1 more up, and he's picked out a duplicate and another duplicate of one of the other letters he's picked out in his rack, which is always the way.
Yeah, you kind of notice it more when you play less superior moves, that the tile gods just decide to hate you just that bit more. But interestingly, there is an 8-letter bonus on this rack.
Yes, I have to say, I don't think I'd have spotted it myself, but it's not a common word.
It does go through the E's though, and this is that bonus. No idea what it means, couldn't care less.
No, I must admit, I don't tend to get hung up on a lot of the meanings. I used to do when I first started. I used to sort of like flick through the dictionary before we had all these fantastic software programs, and sometimes you just used to see what the word meant, and Chambers used to have some interesting definitions for some words, and it was quite idiosyncratic with its lexicography.
But anyway, if you're not seeing the bonus on this rack, you need to try and find that second best move. So you're trying to find out a way to split up your duplicates
Yes.
You want to make sure the rack is balanced, so likely a vowel and 2 consonants, or maybe a vowel and 3, depending on how much of the board you're taking away. So
Yes, certainly one of the L's I would be looking to get rid of. Although duplicate L's is not the worst. In fact, sometimes they work better in pairs than they do on their own. But I think with this rack, I think I would be trying to get rid of both of them.
yeah, and also with the 2 E's open, you're not so worried about keeping maybe a more consonant-heavy leave, because you know you've got an extra vowel floating, and you really only need 2 vowels to make 8-letter words anyway, if you're lucky. So Femi kind of here he takes away or limits slightly the bonus lane down column F. But he does balance his rack a lot more. He leaves RAD or ADR, depending on how much you like your alphagrams. Which everyone does except me.
No, I don't tend to put things in alphabetical order on my rack, because I always find alphagrams look exactly the same. Every single one of them. Even when I'm doing Ziziver and I get my card box up, I still have to, if it doesn't spring out to me, I know it, then I have to start moving the letters around. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I think maybe a slight advantage to playing at all is that Femi is holding an A for aloof. So, if he doesn't draw a bonus, he could be guaranteed to score maybe upwards of 25 points with a decent pickup.
And I'm sure that was in his thinking when he played that as well.
So we move on to your next rack. A lovely natural 7.
Yes. And then it's spotting, obviously, because it's not a singleton. There are 2 bonuses with the rack. But I think only one is going to fit on the board.
I feel bad. I don't think I know the other one, but oh well.
Well, I can't play, as far as I can see, Loftier.
Oh, of course. This is what happens when you don't play for so long. And of course the other one being
Trefoil.
So of course when you spot the bonuses, yeah, when you spot the bonuses, just put them down. Especially in this case, as there's only one playable one. And if you don't see the bonuses, maybe that's bad and you need to go and study some more 7s.
Although something like Fit at L4 would get a reasonable score.
Or putting in another
Fitly.
L after Fit, for Fitly. Because that's just as reasonable, but it's not a bonus.
No,
and
I think at this point I would have been looking to play a bonus, because I would needed all the score I can get at this point.
Mm-hmm.
On a very tight board, if I play Fitly and hope to get something on the next go, then it might not be there.
Yeah, because Fitly also limits one of the E's. So it kind of cuts down on the bonus lanes slightly, whereas Trefoil kind of adds a couple of floaters, adds another lane in. So it's better than something like
It's all
Fitly.
good, as I say. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so Femi's next rack. It's still got duplicate A's, and now he's got duplicate D's as well.
Yes, it does look horrendous. But this is a sort of rack where you'd be looking maybe for like a compound word, something band or something like that. But I don't think that is what he's going to play. In fact, I think he's got an excellent spot from this rack.
Yeah, he's going to spot the only bonus. Brand-Aid.
Which unfortunately I couldn't even challenge this, because I know what it is because I've eaten it. So like an emulsion of salt, cod and olive oil, which doesn't sound particularly appetizing, but it is quite nice.
Give me chocolate any day of the week.
Well, yes, I'm a chocoholic as well, so I still probably would go with that over mashed up fish. So there we go.
Yeah.
But it was certainly an excellent spot. So it's not a very common word.
Yeah, especially considering you're looking to one of the E's on the board as well, and I find it a lot harder to make words end in E.
Yes, because I mean, certainly with D's on his rack as well, you'd be looking for something ending in ed. I mean, a Brandad is not a very high probability word, so he's obviously done quite a lot of study to get to that, unless he just eats in posh restaurants.
Yeah, and clearly I do neither, because I mispronounced it. Go me!
Well,
Anyway.
Now, don't get my pronunciation could be wrong. I have no idea how it's. I know it's French, so
it would be Brandad then, I would think. But there we go. Scrabble players also have no idea how to pronounce the words they play. No. So
I'm quite pleased I knew what the meaning was of that one, but I don't generally.
So let's move on to your next rack, which is actually pretty nice considering you drew a bonus. You played a bonus your last turn and drew 7 completely new words, new letters even.
Yes, we've got the S, which is obviously we've been waiting for to go on the end of Theek.
Yeah, we're over halfway through the game and none of the S's have been played yet. So
but I think this is where I missed my chance. Because I think I was mesmerised by the S, but rather embarrassingly, the word that I should have played is very, very similar to the word I did play. So that's
that's not as pleasant. So of course, if you're completely mesmerised by that S, you're looking at the O column, and you've probably seen something like gongs already. Of course, being behind, potentially Nogs is slightly better, because it's not as restrictive having the N in that position than having the G in that position. Because of course, with the G in that position, you need to make the word end, U consonant or A consonant.
But G's are not particularly useful on the board unless you're looking for an ing. So if you're getting rid of your N as well, then you're restricting the likelihood of an ing word coming up. And you should never keep an ing on your rack. That's what we're all told.
Ings are particularly hard bonuses to play. And I realised that as I progressed through the divisions, because when you're a bottom division player, you tend to keep all those suffixes, and ing words are harder to get down because if you're trying to hook them, you tend to try and hook the end of words onto other words rather than hook the front of words onto words. And G's are harder to hook than a lot of other letters. Gold star to everyone watching that's noticed the bonus over here.
Yeah, which unfortunately I didn't see. So there we. Did I know it? I can't 100%. I mean, I know it. I've known it since then. Whether I knew it at that point, I couldn't swear to.
But it is a bonus, and it would have pulled you within about 40 points of Femi.
Yes. No, let's go back in time, and I played Gongster.
Yeah, let's go back in time, completely change the whole game, and then and then have a different outcome.
Yes.
But anyway,
that's
yeah. I mean, if you had played Gongster, Femi's got a nice high-scoring play along the triple.
Yes. So I still would have been quite a way behind. But,
yeah, at least a bonus. But anyway, Femi's rack, it's still balanced after the bonus. Maybe I underestimate how balanced people's racks tend to be after bonuses. They've all been pretty good in this game.
Yes, it has been a fairly even consonant-vowel split. I mean, I think there was a couple of racks where I had a couple too many vowels. It was mainly duplicates of the same letter that's been the problem for both of us at this game. So,
here, Femi's looking to score, relatively highish, like 25 plus.
Yeah,
he's got letters that help him to score. He's got the C and the M, which are quite friendly consonants. They will help score quite a lot.
and an R, which goes quite well with things like C's. But U's don't tend to help much with any rack really, apart from if you want the Q.
So ideally you're looking here for maybe a play down column L, or because you've got A's, either something down column D or column E. And then maybe if you're kind of good at sixes, there might be something from B10 down. But
Yes, that would be, if you could get the C there, that would block a lane quite well.
yeah, because it would depend on a bonus ending in H to come down. And of course, being Femi in this position, he wants to keep the board tighter, he wants to limit the floaters, and he wants to essentially empty the bag quicker. So playing more tiles is better at this point, which will explain why he played camera. Even though he does keep the U, plays 6.
Yes, and we've still got the Q outstanding as well, so sometimes it's not that bad to keep a U, certainly on its own. Keeping 2 of them is, I'll say, not good. But yeah, I mean, something like camera, or if you want to keep a better balance on your rack, something maybe like Amu down from L3, although that just take an N in front of it, so it's certainly not a blocking move.
Yeah, and you probably wouldn't want to give an additional 7-letter bonus lane as well.
Yeah.
So camera is probably the best choice here. I mean, a play like Corm you wouldn't want to do. There's a blank unseen and it opens a triple. And, you know, that would be an easy way for your opponent to quickly come back.
Yeah, if there's a way your opponent can win, don't give it to them.
Yeah.
That's always the best advice.
So, camera it is. So, your next rack is pretty balanced.
Yes.
Still.
And there is a 7 from this rack, but that does not play, which is, of course, threens.
Let's see if I can remember how to spell threens. I think it's like that.
Yes, that's correct.
Threens. That's come up quite a bit in my new card box. And yeah, it'd be great to know if I can remember it every time it comes up, but it doesn't quite work like that.
But without a spot to play that, I need to find something else.
Yeah, if you'd have played Nogs though, instead of Gongs, threens would have gone down. Or even if you'd have played Gongster, threens would have gone down.
Well, there are different letters then, though.
True. But
Yeah,
Nogs would have definitely had threens.
Nogs was, well, I mean, Gongster was obviously the move from that rack anyway, so anything else really was poor compared to that.
But this is where you can kind of see how, you know, even just... Because essentially Gongs and Nogs are the same move, it's just the placement of the letters. And you can see how the placement of the letters in this case is slightly more open with Nogs than it is with Gongs, and how, you know, if Nogs was the word that got played, you know, you would have had the bonus to catch up, whereas now you're kind of like, I kind of have to go fishing again, potentially.
Yeah, so really I need to be looking, if I can't get the bonus, to score with the H. With the H, not with the H.
Yes.
The H somewhere.
No such thing as H. I keep telling that to people and they keep telling me I'm wrong.
Yes, you only drop the H on H.
Yeah. I mean, being a Cockney, you don't pronounce the H at the beginning of words anyway.
Well.
So it's easy for me.
Right, so where can I get a reasonable score for the H and not ruin the rack too much? I think that's...
And because you will be fishing at this point, and you do really at this point need back-to-back bonuses to catch up. The fewer tiles you play, the better.
So I really don't want to be playing anywhere else also that's going to block the board. So I need to be finding little nooks somewhere just to get a good score.
Yeah, somewhere like here, that's a little nook, doesn't close anything, doesn't open anything either.
Yeah. And there are a few other little places like that, but I think that's probably the best scoring.
Yeah, it's the best scoring. But of course, there really are only 8 bonus lanes, for 8-letter words that are out now. So column B, row 3, row 4, row 5, really. So you could argue maybe here for something like which opens a
Creates an
7-letter bonus lane.
Yeah.
And 7s are kind of slightly more likely, and in reality this lane is not going to get blocked, because while it would only be about 60 points anyway, trying to block it would likely open up the triple, which your opponent is not going to want to do. And these are typically the lanes I like to leave open, the ones around the inner border of the board. So row 2, N, 14, B. I'll tend to leave those open for people.
Yes, that's a good tactic to lure them into playing there to open up the triple.
Because then, they get their 60-point bonus, but you get 30 points back on the triple. So really their bonus would only get them about 30 points.
I mean, even putting the R on that as well could be useful, but because we're leaving ourselves with, well, I'm leaving myself with 4 consonants and just 1 vowel, but it does restrict that lane a little then.
Yeah, and of course you're playing an extra tile as well, which is not necessarily what you want to do at this point. And there are 14 vowels unseen, so just about half the bag. So even leaving a slightly consonant-heavy hook, you'd hope to pick up a vowel and a consonant, and maybe the bonus is gonna come.
Yeah, something that's easy to play around on the board. So.
So, with being played in the right position, I'm gonna get this right for a change. Femi's rack has gotten very vowel clunky now.
Yes. So my first thought would be trying to look for something like one of the 5 vowel 8s with that, because they're quite nice consonants with it. But I don't think he has one.
I wouldn't know. I need to study my 5 vowel 8s.
There are only two with a floater would have gone with. Audience. Right.
Another C.
Yes.
Another C that's not on the board.
Yes, C's. I like C's. Unideaed, but there's no D to play with either. So this is slightly tricky when you can't make a bonus with them, and you're not going to score a great deal.
But of course, here Femi doesn't need a bonus.
No.
All he really needs is to take out floaters and to keep scoring.
Yeah.
And when that's your goal, it's kind of a lot easier to deal with. Being ahead is always a lot easier than being behind, to be honest. Can't imagine anyone loves being behind.
No.
So of course, looking for the hotspots here, the places to score.
Well, there's been one hotspot that's been open for quite a while.
Yeah,
it's
for
probably
really the whole game.
I think it's probably going to get taken at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this hotspot is pretty much the only place you can score anywhere near 30 points with a load of 1-pointers. And it also stops your opponent getting a high score here as well, which is probably what you would need at this point if you're coming back from a bonus behind.
Yes, I need to be scoring as
and
well.
Behind, because sometimes it's not just the bonuses you play; it's also the in-between moves, in between your bonuses. Because if you can score like 30+ points with those plays, and your opponent is maybe only scoring 25, you're going to build up your lead slowly. And then they're going to need the bonus, but then you just keep scoring, and then it's just like never-ending cycle of your opponent getting way too many points.
Hmm.
And really, pretty much all the best players come down column L. So
Yes,
something like away, which I believe it's pronounced because it's a word that's come up in the newest Pokemon game. And I've been unreliably informed by my YouTube sources that it's pronounced something like away.
Oh, okay. There we go. I mean, there are obviously 5-letter words that can play down there in Inju, but he probably doesn't want to give me a block a floater by giving me a floater.
Yeah. So even though you want to play more letters at this point, giving away an extra floater is not what you want to do. So, and really sacrificing maybe, 4 to 8 points to not give away that floater, I think that's a decent enough trade-off. Your racks are getting a lot nicer, the board's not getting a lot nicer.
No. I think at this point I would have been getting quite frustrated of having bonuses on my rack that wouldn't fit on the board. But maybe that was partly my own fault for missing ones that did go on the board. And also not playing keeping the board quite as open as it probably should have done with that moves like Nogs. So it's a lesson to be learned.
And also, if you're getting a ton of bonuses that are not going down, it's kind of an increase in built-up frustration. I find sometimes.
Yes.
My opponents have always been increasingly mad that I'm not giving them places to play their bonuses, and some have even sworn under their breath at the end of it. Yes, I have heard that at some points, and it's satisfying to know that that's the case. You can tell I'm such an evil player.
Well, you've got to have the killer instinct, otherwise there's no point playing.
Oh yeah, and that was definitely killer instinct in some aspects. So,
but then again,
what
do I do with these? I've got duplicate T's.
Yeah.
Yes, Tenters, Tester, Netters.
Yep, 3 7s. And of course, if you'd have played in a different position.
Yes, and I would have probably been thinking that. I would have probably been thinking that as well, and kicking myself again for not opening the board out. But so then, what do I do now, as they say?
Yeah, I mean, it's fish again, and then be even further behind, or kind of at this point, maybe say
the damage.
Yeah, limit the damage. Because you do need back-to-back bonuses at this point, and on this board they're just not going to come unless you draw that blank, really.
Mm-hmm.
And get your opponent stuck with the Q, or the Z, or both.
So maybe going back to the plays where I could have played last time. So maybe I should have just done something like net or et there, but that is a very fishy move and not scoring very much.
Yeah. But of course, with a load of 1-pointers, it's incredibly hard to score anything really above 15 anyway. And, in all likelihood, Femi here could just block this opening with either one letter at like C9 or
yes.
It becomes a lot easier to block now because he's got a score cushion, and
so I think that's why my decision was to play off more tiles and try and get a blank and maybe one of the big letters and get a big scoring bonus at some point.
Not sure where, but
no.
But look at these win percentages, they're quite awful. You guys can't see it viewing because I don't have this up on the layout, but the best win percentage play is Tenet, which only wins 1.37% of the time, according to Quackle.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not encouraging.
No.
But it is what you play.
Yes, it is what I played.
You do play the one with the most chance to win.
I suppose that's because of the score. I can only imagine they're all very slim chances, but I suppose that's
Yeah. I mean, the others probably. I don't know how that's got a decent chance at winning. But at this play, at least, this is the second highest win percent play.
Yes.
At 1.23%. And that does create a 7-letter opening, whereas Tenet just doesn't create a 7-letter opening.
No. In fact, it blocks the R as well.
Yeah. So you're now relying on having back-to-back bonuses, something through the T, and then maybe something either along row 2 or down column A and B. Femi's rack now. He's got 2 W's, which is never the most pleasant thing in the world.
No, but I've just created a spot for a nice spot for a W to get rid of one of them.
And of course, W's are great to score with. When you've just got 2 of them, you kind of think, ew. Of course, not the eel that's valid in Scrabble. The other eel, the one with multiple W's. Which is kind of surprising that they don't have an eel with multiple W's.
No.
But the dictionary's weird like that. Of course, here, Femi wants to play more tiles, so wants to get rid of his W's.
And also maybe to block a lane.
Yeah.
Rather than Wem, which is a nice Wem and Ian and we, which is a nice scoring move. A score is not really of his concern at this point.
Yeah.
If he can block a chance for me to get back in the game.
See, score is only really the priority if maybe the scores are a lot more level at this point, or spread is becoming an important factor nearer the end of the tournament. But yeah, a play like Or does the trick. You know, kills off all the floaters, blocks pretty much all the easy bonus lanes, scores decently. You do keep a W back, but you can still use the W to score next
Yes,
turn.
I mean that'd be good to do the Wem move, really.
Yeah,
So,
and you are keeping W and E anyway.
Yeah.
For the B10 hotspot. And unless your opponent is sat there with the 1M that's available in the pool to actually make the most use of B10, then they're not going to get many points from it. But also, you being behind, you're not going to waste a turn playing for points. You're going to want to try and open up the board and find a way to get a bonus down. So I think Or is much better than what was played here, which was
War.
getting rid of both the W's and blocking maybe the bonus lane that was never really going to get used unless you actually got pretty lucky with the letters you picked up.
Yeah, because there's only one. There's an A and a U left, but and the blank, of course. But it's not the most obvious place to play a bonus.
Yeah, and if you're thinking about blocking bonus lanes, you really want to block the ones that are more likely to get used, or the ones that are gonna be scored so heavily from that you're gonna lose the chance to win. You don't want to just go around blocking the lanes that your opponent is hardly ever going to use or can't use, because you want to sort out your rack or you want to get a better score.
Yeah, I think also that not keeping the W back for the Wem, I think that would tip everything really back towards Or on the other side of the board.
And of course, Or while it does create like a parallel down column C, you're going to have to be really lucky to fit like an ERS bonus down there, because the more parallels you have to make to play a word, the harder it is to actually get that word to fit.
And it would open up the triple at the top as well, so the chances are he's going to have a good score back through that as well.
Yeah. So you're not really worried about difficult lanes that you kind of create. You're just worried about blocking the easier lanes. So your next rack is it's disgusting.
And back to my eyes again. And I think by this stage, I think I'd be giving up.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if you had a winning percentage above 0 at this point. I mean, you've pretty much almost got every single eye in the pool. Except one. It's one eye left.
Yes, I haven't even got the and I've got a U, of course, as well, and the Q still waiting in the bag, or certainly maybe on Femi's rack if it's not. So I haven't really got any scoring tiles to do much with here, and it's very difficult really to open out the board with them either, and keep a decent leave.
Yeah, and try for that bonus, and it just kind of, it all comes back to all those previous turns where you could have played a slightly different move, either sacrificing no points or sacrificing a couple of points to make an opening. That would have really changed the game up. But, you know, not doing that has kind of led to a continual deterioration of your rack to triplicates, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tenet was a bit of a last gasp to see whether I could get the blank or a high-scoring letter, and it's not paid off, so I'm in a worse position now.
Surprisingly, you do have moves with winning percentages. There are only 5 of them.
Oh, well, change seems to be the best thing to do.
Yeah. Change, play a word, play another word, or change. They're the only words that win.
Well, I'm glad to say I did play one of those moves, but it was the worst of the 2 actual plays.
I mean, what Kuris does do is burn your S, which, you know, is not useful on this board anyway.
Yes, although S's are not the... No, I'd have to make a word that used it in either at the end or something, but it's not good for hooking onto, that's for sure.
So, because this is not on the layout, the best exchanges in order are exchanging everything except IS, exchanging keeping the S, and exchanging keeping LS. So, of course, keeping the S in an exchange is pretty much your best shout. And the first 2 exchanges that I mentioned both have the best win percentage of 0.91, which is not as good.
Well, it's better than none. That's all you can argue.
You can only assume that it's back-to-back bonuses or 9-timer at this point.
Yeah, I think that's the only way. And it'd have to be a very odd situation that I opened up a 9-timer that Femi didn't block.
Yeah, or played like a really random phony and just magically gave you the option. The other play is Ireful, which is quite interesting because it does give an extra floater down row B, column B even. That's not a row.
But R isn't there though, is it? R's on the other side. It's war.
That's true. Yeah, I can't. This is what happens when we talk about moves. I lose concentration and things. Yeah. Let's try that again.
We've got a couple of other options now.
Yeah, but this time none of them win. So
Right.
So it's interesting how, you know, we felt that Or was a much better move than War, but Or actually gave you a minuscule chance of winning, whereas War actually doesn't give any chance of winning.
No, that's very interesting.
So it shows you that even sometimes the right move, in a way, can be the wrong move.
Oh, it's not as obvious which is the right move. I think that's...
Yeah. Well, you never know which one's right or which one's wrong, in all honesty. But,
some say the best move there that it's given, which is Ulitis. I did not know that word, so I would not have played that. And obviously that's giving a hotspot for the Q, which is still outstanding, although there was only one I to go with it.
And one U.
So I'll probably... I mean, you've got to maybe volatilize the board at this point to try and get some chance. So that's probably why that's at the top. But even still, then it's not going to get you a win by the look of it.
Yeah, and interestingly, there are only 5 vowels in the bag, and you are sat here with essentially half of them. And Ulitis does get rid of 3 of your half of the vowels. So this kind of play would probably leave you with only that one vowel, and you probably don't want to be doing that. So a play like Liri is probably slightly better, but they all lose the game.
Well, yes, that blocks quite badly if I'm trying to find a
Yeah.
bonus. That's why I think at this point I thought I'll try and go for a bit of score because
Yeah, it's the highest scoring play that Speedy Play is suggesting anyway. But of course, even though we talked quite a bit about the board with ore on the board, a lot of the analysis for that will still stand. It's you know, and that's something to kind of think about. Like, if maybe, you know, you play this other move, where does the analysis kind of go from there? And it is interesting to talk about what the board could look like with a different word being played.
that is sometimes
it only helps if you know your opponent's facts.
Yeah, they don't visualize what their move and what it's going to give away when it's not on the board. They might try and look what something that was on the board and say, oh, they can play something through that and not realize what they're actually giving away by what they play. And I think that's something that the better players would see what they were giving away.
The defensive side of your play, or the offensiveness of your play, which is probably where war comes in. War, you can't actually do anything off of war, whereas with ore, you could actually open the board up slightly. You could open up a triple. You know, even though the option to open up the triple is still there, with playing war, maybe that extra tile played makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, even or where he played war and just get the W back for the Wem hook, maybe that would have been slightly better. But he probably wasn't too concerned at this point.
Just concerned with making sure he can get the win, probably.
Yeah.
Which, now he's got the Z, you know, he's got the scoring tile, or one of the scoring tiles, and
which is the one that you would prefer probably out of this.
Yeah, you wouldn't want the Q, especially with the diminishing pool of U's and I's left.
Although I have just set up a spot with playing Curies to get a good score with the Q. Maybe
it does imply that you haven't had the Q because you did play one of the U's. So Femi could be there kind of assuming that you hadn't had the Q, but you may have picked it up because you had played 4 tiles.
But he also hasn't got the other U, so maybe you thought I might have had both U's.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, to maximise the Q and the U, you'd need to have the A as well, so you'd be getting rid of more of the vowels from the pool, which is also not what you want to do. And so yeah, playing the Q often entails playing lots of vowels. And you know, when there aren't many vowels left, your ability to maximise the Q kind of gets limited a lot. But also Femi's kind of like, I don't want the Q because there's only one place for the Q on the board, for just the Q by itself. But also he doesn't want to get stuck with it.
No.
Because if you somehow manage to bonus and then Femi gets stuck with the Q and no vowels, you know, you could end up winning just by the fact that he has.
Yes, especially if he's not using his Zs as well.
Yeah, especially losing vowels at this point. So, you know, first priority is maybe playing that Z.
Yes, I think so. He's got to make sure he's not got too many points left on his rack.
Yeah, interestingly, a championship player has 500% winning moves, none of which have the Z in.
Oh, there we go.
So it turns out playing the Z maybe isn't the best choice. But, you know, with the move that he did play being 98.48%, you know, maybe it's not as bad.
Well, that was very interesting because I had no chance of winning, and
yeah, now you would have a chance of winning.
if it does work like that, I'm not quite sure.
See 0% win chance sometimes isn't 0% win chance. The human element of the game can do this.
Yes.
But anyway, so there are kind of two choices here, really. It's maximize the Z or kill off the floaters. So you can kill off the floaters with something like Servid or Vinted, even though it doesn't, it provides another 7-letter bonus lane. You're sitting there with the Z, so you're going to get the triple back anyway. And with the Z, that's an easy 30-40 points. Provided you pick vowels, of course.
There are not actually that many moves listed with the Z at all in that.
Yeah, there are really only 2. It's basically Zin, or Sesvi. And it's probably in a way to do with the way the board looks, but also the fact that the rack itself doesn't go very well with a Z. So, something to think about as well. So, the other 100% win moves are Dev, Nerdic, and Driven. It's quite interesting how they're all 100%, but this move here isn't 100%. Maybe there's a way for you to play like a bonus through the Z with the Q, maybe, or something. And then, but let's move on anyway.
Yes, I think I would have probably played Zin as well, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't feel like there would be a scenario where you wouldn't want to play the Z. Especially with, you not wanting to get stuck with that and then draw the Q as well. Because if you draw the Q, you've then got to choose what you end up getting rid of. And you don't want to end up being in a scenario where you're going to have to keep one of them on your rack. So really, the sooner you can get rid of one, the better. And especially if, 100% moves involve playing 5 tiles. Playing 5 tiles means you're more likely to draw the Q. Which, then becomes a problem when you're also sat there with the Z.
It was quite interesting. On the cross tables page, it's given Vizier as a choice, but that opens up a 9 timer, which I think would be
yeah, that was probably
ridiculous.
Speedy Player. Speedy Player probably suggested that, and that's why Speedy Player is bad. Probably really bad because it's Speedy Player. And of course, you've now finally drawn your blank, haven't you? Finally got some decent letters and S's and stuff. But too little, too late.
I think that is the case. And even still, I don't think I can see anything much to play on the board.
Yeah, the board is now really, really, really tight. There's no 7 lanes at all, it's only 8s. And even then, the 8s that are possible with the floaters are really limited by the position that you have to have the floaters in. And that just increases the difficulty to get a bonus down, and
because that Zin play did actually block a couple of bonuses through the T.
Assuming any play by Femi would have blocked the floaters though, blocked the T. So, but I think it's now damage limitation at this point, even though for some weird reason this is the best player at 2.12 win % chance. I wonder where the win comes from.
Well, I obviously hadn't spotted where because I didn't play that.
Interestingly, there's like 11 moves with an actual chance at winning. And you don't play one. But that's quite a lot of moves.
Probably because I've not created another spot, maybe. Although ins doesn't create anything, does it? So.
Yeah, neither does that, or that, or that, or, well, that, maybe. It's hard to really create a bonus lane, though, on this board.
With that, well, not one that's not going to get blocked.
Yeah. Because any lane that really gets open is just going to immediately get taken, you assume.
These
don't have any win percentage, though, these last 3.
What the SI play? Where was that? SI.
There.
I'm interested to work out why that is better than what I played.
I don't know. Maybe
because neither of them were blocking moves, so.
Yeah, I mean, of course, with such low win percentages at this point, you're relying on your opponent.
Yes, the
You know,
stars are hiding for me.
yeah, because the thing is as well, you know, any play here is going to leave. There's 4 in the bag right now, so you have to play. You basically have to play a maximum of like 3 tiles.
Yeah.
In order to draw back-to-back bonuses, which is really what
I'm
you need
also
at this point.
Trying to avoid the Q as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a danger that I'm going to get stuck with the Q. I mean, I have got the I's and S's to hook onto places, but I don't particularly want the Q if I want to try and find a bonus that fits.
But also, Quackle doesn't really understand the human element in the case that, you know, even if you do play 2 tiles, Femi is not going to play just 1 tile here. He's going to empty the bag because it's pretty much the only way that you could win unless he draws the Q.
Actually, maybe those moves at the bottom there are trying to block the QI coming down from Curies. I wonder if that's why they sim better.
Not all of them do block it, but because there is also another place here at I3, but maybe it's assuming that, you know, if you block one, Femi doesn't have the Q, he draws the Q and then you block the other, and then bonus somehow. But it's all speculation, really.
Yes.
And you play this play, which just didn't sim anywhere, really. Even though it scores pretty much one of the most points on the whole list.
Yeah, I think I'd have been going to try and get points, but with still back of my mind maybe a bonus coming.
I mean, the one downside for Sir is probably that it does limit the E of trefoil. That's probably the only negative thing about it.
Right, yes.
That it does limit it a bit more. But Femi's drawn that last U now. So he's probably a lot less worried about that Q now, even though, you know, Q and U just by itself isn't very good because you need another vowel.
Yeah.
So even having the U isn't particularly helpful. But you don't really think about, you know, you just think about Q and U, but you don't think about the fact that you just need another vowel as well to put after the QU.
It's quite a clunky rack again. It's got B's and C's and V's and M's.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not. I think he'd be trying to get rid of as many tiles as he could at this point.
Yeah, just kill off the last of the floaters. Play the clunkier letters. You know, try not to maybe get rid of all your vowels and leave too many consonants. Maybe cross your fingers that you don't pick up the Q. Really, that's probably all you could hope for. I think it'd be hard for Femi to blow the game at this point. But just a quick sim shows that really any play curved or curbed here wins. For some reason, Bum and Be Mud also win, even though they don't block the floaters. But
probably the bonus is not going to score anywhere near enough.
Yeah. Even if you do draw the Q, I guess, because Be Mud 38, Femi goes 150 ahead. Bonus will get like 70. Even with the Q, that's just not enough.
No.
Femi does curved. So now you've got your best rack of the game, essentially.
It's
Apart from trefoil.
Well, it's probably slightly more flexible, because obviously it's got the blank in it. But on this board, it is not a great deal of use.
It's completely useless in all reality. There's nowhere for a 7 now. The Z is just not useful. And you know, what you do here is completely understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I felt sure that the word that I was trying to hook onto was completely wrong. But at this point, it was a desperation move, I think.
Not to win, but to maybe save some spread points.
Yeah, because there was only I couldn't block the cue because there was two
Yep.
places for that. So the best chance I had was to try for something.
Yeah, and then maybe catch Femi completely missing challenging it or something, which can happen. You know, opponents just get distracted or something, or just misread the hooked word, and then before they know it, they've revealed their tiles and they can't challenge.
Yeah, because there's a word scurf, and I was hoping it was maybe something connected to that, but it's just from scurf to scurfs. No, it's not a verb, I don't think.
But in any case, Femi does challenge, and
the word comes off. I played Inshallah, but
so now Femi's, you know, he can either play his cue here or he can play something else and play his cue later. You know, his cue's not going to get blocked. It's just a case of ending the game now, really.
yes, he knows he's got 2 goes. So as long as he doesn't block one of his cue spots and play mob or something like that, and then I can pinch the other, he's fine to get rid of both.
Yeah. But it's really impossible for him to lose the game at this point.
Yeah.
You know, even if he did something really stupid, he can't lose the game. So the 2 best players that Cockle has is Chi and Chi. And then goes Bomb, Comb, Mo. I like this one, Bogongs. That's really pretty. Completely crazy, but really cool. Femi here does go for Comb though, which is probably a more interesting choice. But it's 4th on the list. And you know, it doesn't stop him playing the cue, so there's nothing bad about that. And now really, you've just got to play a word that scores the most points, which you don't do.
No, I think about this page I'd given up and I just tried to find something through the Z, I think, at that point.
Yeah, which is pretty much every single choice at this point. Everything is through the Z. Except Lizards is the best, just because it scores 2 points more. And then Femi goes out with his Q for 22. And there we have it.
Yes, well, there's lessons to be learned from there, I think. Not keeping duplicate eyes early on, of not missing bonuses. Although, I mean, sometimes you can't help if you don't know the word, then there's not much you can do during the game. But obviously, it's a case of having to do the study to get the knowledge back up.
Mm-hmm. And I think from this game, we've also learnt the importance of maybe sacrificing a few points, or the importance of letter positioning to making openings,
Yes.
especially when you're further behind. Because as we saw more like 2 or 3 times, the word that you played, you know, was slightly more defensive, but that wasn't as beneficial to you being so far behind. In the case of gongs and which were the big ones. But anyway, final scores being 483 to 328, or at least in American Scrabble anyway, because we do things differently in the UK. You know, we don't do the double thingy, whatnot. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me this
Thank
evening.
you, Jessica. Thanks. It was a bit of a painful experience in terms of watching the game, but I'm sure it'll be valuable to me and for the others watching.
And hopefully all of you watching will join me for the next game.